Welcome everyone to this special episode of Wrestling is Cool. My name is Santi. That is Sancho. We're going to be talking about the Elimination Chamber in our predictions. Sancho, hype levels from 1 to 10. Where are you at on Elimination Chamber? How are you feeling about this?
First things first, I would like to apologize to the people across the ocean, overseas. I am not hype about waking up at 4 in the morning. That brings everything down to like a 5. Like, I could only muster so much energy. I don't know how people around the world do it, Santi. It's just wild to me because I was watching when I was doing my watch party for Monday Night Raw. I had someone from the UK, shouts to 112K, a former co-worker of mine, an awesome friend. It was like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Watching Raw. I don't know how they do it.
Dude, I did it for Survivor Series when I was on vacation in Portugal. Waking up because I took a nap and I woke up for a 2 to like 6 a.m. work shift, basically, of watching Survivor Series. You know what? I hear all these Europeans cry and whine, and now I get it. Dude, I'm with you. That's rough. It is absolutely not fun to be getting up this late, this early. I don't really see when you can't even distinguish whether it's late or early. That's a problem. That is a problem. But yeah.
Do you love how WWE is like, hey, everybody, if you don't know how time zones work, let me just do a graphic.
They gave us like an entire graphic and map of time zones. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And you know what, Sancho? That was a problem for the last time they were in Australia for a Super Showdown, I think it was.
I remember that. Yeah.
I missed it because I didn't know exactly what time it was at. So I think they learned from a few years ago when they tried this. And here we are now, with a full Rolodex of time zones.
If this was old 80s wrestling, we would have had a guy named Time Zone come out against and the Globe. We would have had a clear match between the two. But I agree, man. Hey, it's going to be a fun one. I think it's exciting. The card's pretty after Raw, especially. I thought the women's chamber is shaping up to be, I think, could steal the show, honestly. Those ladies in that chamber could definitely steal a show, Santi.
Yeah, I think both chambers, honestly, are ridiculously stacked. I haven't seen this stacked a set of chamber matches across the board probably ever. Usually one of them is like, this one isn't really as stacked. And I think the reason why they're both so stacked is that they're both for the same stakes, which is to get a chance to main event WrestleMania. Because sometimes one of the chamber matches will be for that, and then the other one will be for like a US title. Or there was the year where one of them was for the tag titles. That was a really fun chamber match, but obviously, like, in terms of star power, it can be lacking. While this, everyone here in some capacity has to be a believable WrestleMania main eventer.
What's interesting as well is this chamber doesn't, and no offense to these people, doesn't have the spot gimmick wrestler. There's always that one wrestler that is just in the chamber to do a high flying move off the cage, or
John Morrison, Montez Ford, sadly,
Ricochet type of thing. There's none of that, so I'm not going to expect anyone for a high spot, but still, the chamber has stakes, and I for one think that every chamber should have these kind of stakes. I kind of like it see it as a last chance type of spot if you didn't win the Royal Rumble, and it's a great way to set up angles at the Rumble to settle their differences at the chamber. It's a great segue between the two PLEs.
What do you feel about Elimination Chamber just not being called No Way Out? Because No Way Out is literally the same. It was a proper pay-per-view name, and it like suits the actual vibe of what they're doing, but now they like are so dead set on calling it Elimination Chamber. Does that bug you at all? It doesn't really to me, but
it kind of reminds, I think they did No Way Out to take NWO away. Like that was kind of like their let's try to take some search engine optimization. I don't know if they were thinking of that back in the day, but I had no problem with that. Elimination Chamber sounds cooler.
That was where the NWO debuted in the WWE. No Way Out. Yeah, wild. I'm as a.
What about you? Are you pumped?
Here's the thing. I am and I'm not. I am because I feel like the quality of the matches is going to be really good, but I also feel like the stakes of the matches just aren't where I wanted to be for a PLE right on the onset of WrestleMania. You compare it to last year's Elimination Chamber that was bookend by one of the best bloodline matches in storyline bookends of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. It's missing that. There's none of that going.
It's missing bloodline. That's why
I don't
you
even
feel
know if because of where we are in the world of professional wrestling and the bloodline is still the hottest thing. It is missing bloodline, but even if we were in a world without the bloodline, it's missing the thing. It's missing the, I don't know, the pedal to the metal that leads us into WrestleMania. I feel like that's what it's missing.
See, like we didn't mention as well is that it has a Grayson Waller show segment with Cody and Seth. I think would have been really interesting and awesome what you're talking about, the missing piece. I think the missing piece is The Rock. I think they should have made The Rock the host of Elimination Chamber, or The Rock should announce himself as the host and just shove himself in our face as much. The Rock needs to be everywhere right now. He needs to be Hollywood Rock everywhere. He cannot be like Roman. It needs to feel like The Rock is taking over wrestling. Seth already talked about it in the promo with Cody. He said, dude, The Rock is someone you don't mess with. This guy has power. This guy is a Thanos level threat. Let me be your shield. And I feel that The Rock just needs to be everywhere. I was so bold that I think the coolest thing that they could do is take Cody off the cover of WW2K and put The Rock on the cover.
Oh, that would have been fire.
Dude, just for fun, dude. And you would have had people so upset about the entire thing. And Cody would have been like, I
can't do anything about it. Yeah.
Can't do anything about it. The Rock is the guy that kind of signs my paychecks, whatever, something like that. I think that's the missing thing. And I think the no bloodline involvement is the missing piece of the pie. I really felt that before Jimmy interfered with Jay at Raw. I felt it's kind of weird that Jay is not involved in this bloodline Cody picture. You know, Cody was the guy that brought Jay over. Cody and Jay won the tag team champions. He should be involved in Mania somewhat, and he's nowhere to be found until Jimmy interfered. So I thought that was the saving grace. But to bring back to Elimination Chamber Perth, it's missing the bloodline, my friend. It's missing that because that's what we want. That's what we want the most.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start there. The Grayson Waller effect, which is being advertised almost like a match. Coming out in his boxing, Australian. He's gonna get a huge pop. He is going to get a huge.
He's gonna get that bar. Yeah. Right, Bob.
Well, because he's one of those guys that, and he was talking about this. I think it was on Instagram where he was saying that, he's not going to go out there and go get that cheap heat because that's not what he is. He's always been overly proud Australian, wearing, the flag on his gear, coming out with the flag at certain takeover matches, doing the shoey. So it wouldn't make sense for him to go out there and just try and get cheap heat and say he doesn't like Perth just because he's from some other city. He's like, no, I'm going out there and I'm probably going to be the biggest hero to those people. And I think he's right. I think he's 100% right.
I'm surprised that Grayson Waller has not gotten any kind of love from WWE for protecting LA Knight in that news segment. Mm-hmm. That was such a nuanced kayfabe thing for Grayson Waller to step in and to take that heat. I thought he would get more screen time, but obviously I think they're saving Grayson Waller for Perth.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think he's been the poster child more or less of the media tour for the show across Australia. But yeah, we have the Grayson Waller effect. The two guests are going to be Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. And I guess in terms of predictions, I guess my question is bloodline involvement?
No, I don't think they would have flown out there or they would have said something. They would have advertised that bloodline would be there. I think this is just going to be the official Cody saying, yes, Seth, I'm with you. I need you as my shield. Because on Raw, if you missed it, Cody was backstage and he was in the medical. And then all of a sudden, Seth Rollins is there like Batman, who's just literally standing off camera, walks right in and says, I kind of told you so. So I think that's going to be the moment where Seth Rollins says, yes, I need you, Seth. I mean, Seth Rollins and Cody team up.
You think that? Yeah, you think that's going to be the Avengers Assemble moment? At least like the start of it?
It is. It's Tony and Iron Man. It's Tony and Captain America finally getting together.
I think there's going to be some bloodline involvement, so I guess we can keep track of scores.
If you're going to say Sokoa, don't say
No. No, I'm going to say Rock and Roman. I'm going to say Rock and Roman on this show. I think so. I think that
maybe
with
Perth wanted Rock.
Perth wanted Rock, yes. And maybe they weren't able to get him in a match capacity, but I think this makes sense. I think the piece that makes me skeptical about that is how do you not advertise The Rock? If he's,
that's what I mean.
That's such a huge name to not advertise. Then again, there is an episode of SmackDown that even though will air about 6 hours before Elimination Chamber, it's possible that they might end up advertising The Rock. Rock saying, I'm going to be there. We know The Rock is going to be at least in the building for that episode of SmackDown. I don't know yet whether or not he comes out and cuts a promo.
And then leaves in a jet plane immediately.
Honestly, it would be kind of a hilarious shtick if instead of like going out to the ring and cutting a promo, it cuts to The Rock at an airstrip, getting on a plane, saying I'm getting my candy ass to Australia. Hop in, little tribal chief, and then Roman, makes room in there. He gets in, and they don't let Jimmy on the plane. He's like, no, you have to buy a ticket.
You have to drive there, but I have to go over. Sorry, bye.
I think Rock and Roman do make some sort of appearance, especially if the plan is to set up some sort of tag match. I think you just concretely set it up here.
It'd be cool. It'd be something memorable. I mean, we always talk about Crown Jewel wanting those memorable moments and WWE not kind of having. I think the last thing is, I mean, Logan winning a title was kind of memorable recently. So I think Perth would like that this is where we had Seth and Cody and Roman Rock stare down, officially making night one, day one, whatever type of vibe for WrestleMania. I see that happening. I hope so, because Grayson Waller and Cody and Seth are not it for me.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 because I say so, and I don't really know the words. Let's move on to some of the actual matches here. Let's start off with the tag match, which is the Judgment Day. Damian
Why
Priest.
are we having this match?
It's a
like, truthfully, why?
Hang on, let me get through the contestants, and then we'll hear your thoughts. Finn Balor and Damian Priest taking on the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. The New Catch Republic.
The what?
New Catch Republic.
What?
I
don't get it.
I don't get it either. I think it's a British thing.
Look, I know we want everybody to relive the glory days of NXT UK, all that vibe. Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, like we should be hyped for this, but it doesn't make sense because they had limited run-in with the Judgment Day, and it feels like the tag titles haven't really had that much of an appearance. And I want to say this: they're wasting Finn Balor. What happened? What happened to the leader of the Judgment Day, Finn Balor? All of a sudden, you get a purple briefcase. Dude, when the briefcase turned purple, Finn's leadership went bye-bye. That was it. He lost it to Mommy, and then he lost it to Damian, and now he's just a goon. He's just walking wearing Gucci slides, and I don't get it. Finn Balor used to be a 2016 champion who had to give up his belt because of injury, and we were waiting for his return. This is ridiculous. Finn deserves better.
I don't think he's going to get any better. I think we're seeing. I
said he deserves better.
Oh, he deserves better. Fair enough. I agree with that statement. I just don't think that we're going to get any better. I think this is where it goes for Finn Balor. No. I think so.
You don't think he gets a championship belt anytime soon? A singles belt?
No.
Not even intercontinental.
Dude, if they didn't pull the trigger, sure, mid-card maybe. But if they didn't pull the trigger this summer when it made the most sense, when he had the numbers advantage to boot, and he had the better of the two stories, the 7 years of agony, and they still didn't pull the trigger on him. If they had him lose to Edge at WrestleMania when Edge hadn't even been re-signed and he ended up leaving, dude, they have very little stock in a main event Finn Balor, and it's sad. It's sad because I love Finn Balor. He's so good, but I think these past 8 months have been a great representation of the peak of where Finn Balor could possibly go as a main eventer in the WWE, which is bridesmaid, never the bride, sadly.
Man, you are sure hitting me with the truth, and I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this match, I'll go first here. I'm with you where it feels this is very out of left field. This is where I would have liked to see Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Perhaps
that would have been dope. I like that. The hope spot.
For the people of Perth. I think this would have been a great spot to put the team A-Town down under, even on a loss. There's no world where it makes any conceivable sense for the New Catch Republic to win this. I think
unless R-Truth gets involved. That's the only reason.
Only reason.
Only reason why Damian and R-Truth would finally have a Mania match in any kind of capacity.
See, I figured that the Mania match was going to be Awesome Truth versus Judgment Day, and that's where it makes the most sense for them to lose the titles. But you're right. R-Truth has been costing every member of Judgment Day matches. He just cost Dominic Mysterio a match. So
Cost him the chamber. Cost him the chamber.
what if he helps them win?
That
also could happen
with our truth. Anything can happen with our
That's
truth,
the
man.
thing. It's
This
so
man appears
unpredictable.
unpredictable. I just think they need to find a way to split the titles. That's the only logical way that everybody comes out a winner in this situation. Give the Raw titles to Judgment Day, and I would have accepted if the SmackDown titles were up for grabs in this Perth, and I would have been cool with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate winning. I would have been fine with that. That makes much more sense.
Yeah. Why? I'm curious why they don't do that. Like, okay, we're defending the SmackDown titles on this show. We're defending the Raw titles on this show.
They used to do that.
Not anymore. Not anymore. So we're both on Judgment Day here. I think that's probably
Absolutely.
I feel like that's probably the easiest choice that we could possibly
Rogue
make.
is our truth.
Yeah, that's the wild card for sure. That's the wild card. I think he. Okay, let's make this prediction. Does our truth get involved? Not gonna say how he gets involved. Does he get involved?
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with yes as well. Our truth is too over to not utilize here.
And I'm telling you, it's going to be Damian. It's going to be a singles match, Damian versus R-Truth. Keep it simple.
Okay, all right. Wouldn't hate that either. I feel like they've done a good enough job to build to that at WrestleMania. Let's go to the Women's Elimination Chamber match. As a reminder, this is to determine the number one contender for the Women's World Championship match at WrestleMania 40 against the winner of Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. Contestants here are Becky, Bianca, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, new theme song by the way, Naomi, and Raquel Rodriguez. Sancho?
I absolutely love Raquel. Thank you. Yes! Show me that back. Her back's much more impressive than yours, I say.
Okay, all right. Didn't need to go there. Didn't need to put me down just to put her over. That's unnecessary, but okay.
Sorry, man. It is where I speak the truth. I'm a truth fan. As much as I wish we would get Raquel and Rhea at Mania, because I mentioned before, it's a Brett and Sean all over again. The chemistry between those two, it is magnetic. All right, you could smirk all you want. I'd rather watch Rhea Ripley versus Raquel than a Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. I think Becky wins. And even though I think it's going to be a car wreck of a show. It's going to be great. I think the ladies are going to put their bodies on the line. You're going to have some great pops. I think Tiffany Stratton is probably going to be the one going to do the moonsault off the top. Yeah,
she's going to have the cool spot for sure. They're going to let the 24-year-old do the cool thing.
Yeah, let her go wild. I think it's really cool. I think you get a lot of different angles throughout this. But at the end of the day, they've been leaning towards it, even though I think Becky Lynch has the worst momentum going into this chamber. She is so cold. I don't understand it. I think her back-to-back promos, I think they left her out there too far and too long, and she kind of wilted out there. I wish they had her wrestling into the chamber.
Wait, you didn't like her pulling out a glass of lemonade?
Oh, God. Dude, I wish it was beer. Like, just do it. Make it... a non-alcoholic beer. If you're gonna be the Stone Cold of the women's division, to like lean into that, or her talking about her hat. Like I totally get what kind of a character she is. She kind of reminds me of. Remember when Dean Ambrose started doing that?
Sure.
Throughout the wrestling community, they were like, "Oh, Dean Ambrose is like the Bill Murray of the wrestling world. He's very comedic." I feel like she's trying to explore that niche, and it's just not working out for her. And I think it's the more I see of Becky in a non-competitive role, the least I like her, but I have to pick her, even though I don't like it.
I think that is the most logical choice. I do think that there is a world where in 2024, a big money match is Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. I think that's a WrestleMania match. I just don't think that we have good enough narrative threads to get us there and build us up quickly enough for us to get Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair as much of a money match as this is, because they've done, even though they haven't done a great job of it, they've done a job of building up to Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch by keeping them purposely separated throughout the entire year. That's something I noticed like right off the rip, where Rhea Ripley was going through the entire women's division of Monday Night Raw and somehow, for some reason, never crossing paths with Becky Lynch. Once it finally made sense for them to cross paths because she ran through everybody, then Becky goes down to NXT, avoids her even longer. So it's very clear that the WWE has done a conscious effort to keep these two together for the sake of creating this big money match, which it is. Even if they haven't done a great job of building Becky Lynch, she aside from maybe Bianca Belair, the biggest name in this match. And even if Becky Lynch does win, which I do believe that she will, I think that Becky Lynch is just going to be used as a stepping stone to further elevate Rhea Ripley, who still has way more time left in the WWE. I see Rhea Ripley retaining. That's a talk for a different video. I think Becky Lynch is winning here. I think this is going to be a car wreck. I think that Tiffany Stratton is going to have the cool spots. I believe that Liv Morgan could actually shock the world and eliminate some of the big heavy hitters in here, because they've been treating this as like her revenge tour, her return. And I think that maybe we see Jade Cargill get involved here and costing Bianca Belair her match.
You know what? Truthfully, I would be bold. Let's look at it. What's a better Mania match between all the women involved for Rhea? You say it's Bianca, right? That was kind of your reason why you picked her. I do like Raquel, but Tiffany Stratton versus Rhea Ripley will be very interesting.
It would cook. It's not ready yet.
No, but I think
Tiffany
could sell that heel work. Her promos would be so good. And Rhea has never met a heel that way. I think the closest thing to it will be Alexa Bliss, where she's that heel type of thing. And we've never seen anyone be overly dirty wrestling against Rhea Ripley.
That's true.
I think that's the only way that a powerhouse wrestler or a super wrestler of that version could lose, is they get cheated out or screwed out of the way. And I think Tiffany Stratton would be, at least it'd be entertaining, and I think she'd be active on the roster with that belt if she would go to Mania.
Yeah. That match would absolutely be incredible. Tiffany Stratton versus Rhea Ripley. I don't yet see it. We'll see, though. I also wouldn't mind if they build up to Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair. They've been slowly hinting at that. That match would also be fantastic as well. Yeah. Because Bianca's similar to Rhea Ripley, one of those that's really difficult to beat clean. We'll see. We'll see. I'm taking Becky Lynch because it makes the most sense. Those are the tea leaves that we've been given to read.
But isn't it weird that you're not excited for it?
I'm not excited for it. And I'm not excited for it because of the poor job that they've done of reintroducing Becky Lynch to the main event scene. They've done a very poor job. She was great. She was fantastic in NXT. It should have, honestly, they should have transitioned. Maybe they did the NXT thing too early. Maybe the NXT thing should have been going right from NXT right to this, because she was hot coming out of the NXT segment. But after NXT, she kind of lulled, right? She didn't really do anything.
She got squashed by Nia Jax too.
Got knocked out by Xia Li. Like she hasn't really done anything.
And then literally Nia Jax squashed the entire chamber field, which was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a long time. Not because it's Nia Jax. It could have been anybody.
Yeah.
And I would have said that's the dumbest thing ever. And leave Raquel alone.
Yeah, but it's like we're setting up who the next player is in this story. And if you're squashing all of the next up and comers,
literally,
it's a bit weird. It was a weird choice, especially that no one was left standing. If it was like Becky Lynch, stood tall, or Raquel stood tall, like, okay, all right, we're building towards who the hero of this tale is. But they didn't do any of that. She literally destroyed everyone.
Yeah, literally, with no recourse, no repercussions,
none at all.
Would be interesting though is we'll talk about it later, because we're gonna talk about Rhea and Nia later.
Okay. So Becky Lynch.
Fortunately, yes.
Okay. Let's go to the men's Elimination Chamber match. Similar to the women's, this is for a main event opportunity to face off against Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. At least we presume it's Seth Rollins. It could logically be Damian Priest, but it's not gonna be Damian Priest.
Question: do you feel that this card overall is light? Because now we're like, should there be one more match somewhere in there?
It depends, man. These chamber matches tend to go on for sometimes 40 plus minutes.
They're like mini rumbles. Yeah,
they can be. They can go for a while, and the WWE has been very, very strict with not wanting to go over 3 hours, which
is good.
I appreciate. I personally do appreciate. So I could see, in terms of time, I bet this goes right to the 3 hours still. I bet that Grayson Waller effect is also going to take up a huge chunk of time. Bum, 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 bum. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley versus LA Knight versus Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul. Stacked. Absolutely stacked.
Logan takes the high spot in this one.
Of course, it's got to be Logan. Logan is the
it's craziest one.
The craziest one. And I believe I'm looking at the field here, far and away the youngest one as well to be able to take those risks.
Well, if you're LA Knight, you believe he's the youngest one because he called Drew McIntyre the old timer.
Yeah.
He's 3 years old.
What are your thoughts on? I would have liked to add a third person and to start the match. I would have liked to add one more person, still 4 people in the pods, and start it as a triple threat. With Tiffany Stratton having been on the women's side, kind of representing the next generation, I think they introduced him too late. I think Braun Breaker would have been an awesome wrecking ball in this. If they had enough time, like with Tiffany Stratton, to logically introduce him in here, it was just too late. I'll just say that it would have been cool to have Braun Breaker
What's bizarre is Sammy's not in the chamber. It's kind of like Sammy is floundering in a weird spot. I was shocked that they are blatantly calling him the underdog when we know he's an underdog. Yeah. Like, I know that's what Sammy is. He's been that forever. I don't need this pity party that Sammy's doing. He's saying, I need to win a belt. Why, Sammy? Why do you need to win a belt? I truthfully think that the WWE shelved the power. Like, I'm here to stop people in power, stop this great opposition of the Bloodline Judgment Day. They stopped that dead in its tracks. And they gave him this weird kind of angle. But Sammy should be in the chamber.
I agree. They're still doing clearly something with Sammy with the story of like, I don't know what my path to WrestleMania is, but I know it's there. And I don't know.
Why say it? I don't need to know you. We know you're doing nothing. Ever since you left, your path should not be WrestleMania. Your path is Bloodline, my friend. There's unfinished business there. You literally lost your belt, what, a week or two after?
It wasn't a week or two after.
It felt like way.
It did feel like it because of how little they defended it because Kevin got hurt, but it was several months. It's not gonna throw it a week.
I'm just saying Sammy should be involved in Sammy should always be involved in Bloodline till the end of time.
They need to bring him back into this fold in some capacity.
At least with Jay in some way. Just team up with Jay. Just get back with Jay.
100% agree.
All right, chamber.
Yes,
men's
chamber. I'll take this one first. I think that there's a couple of really intriguing matches that could come about this. I think that Randy Orton winning could be fascinating, could create a dynamic that we actually weren't fully expecting. LA Knight could also bring the same here. Help Bobby Lashley. Logan Paul we've seen against against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania before, so no, but I think it is Drew McIntyre that
was a good match. Just stop right there. It was a good match, Logan and Seth. Hello, KSI Splash Bottle Prime. Come on.
No, I don't disagree. It was one of my favorite matches of that WrestleMania.
I know, but you kind of like went over that.
Do you feel like I didn't glaze it enough?
You didn't glaze it enough. It was a light glaze.
It was a light dripping of the glaze.
Excuse me, sir. I ordered extra glaze here.
That was an awesome match at WrestleMania. That's still one of my favorite moments.
It was so good.
I think Drew McIntyre is the most logical choice here, but it's just interesting to note that there's players here that would create an intriguing matchup at WrestleMania.
What does your heart say, Santi? Your logic and your brain say, Drew. What does your heart say?
My heart wants Randy Orton because Randy Orton going for a chase for his 15th is a really interesting narrative to go after. And Randy Orton going after Seth Rollins gives us a narrative thread to eventually connect Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes in some capacity, which would be cool. Drew McIntyre has just done the best job in terms of building himself as a character, as a credible main eventer in this situation. We talk about how they haven't done a great job of that for Becky Lynch. I think we can say the complete opposite of Drew McIntyre, where they've done an amazing job. And even though he has lost 3 times to Seth Rollins consecutively clean at Crown Jewel, losing to the team at War Games, and then losing again at Day One. That is 3 clean losses to Seth Rollins. And yet, to me, they've done such a great job since Day One of building Drew McIntyre as almost like the toxic representation of the IWC in a wrestling ring. They've done such a great job of building him that I see him as a great, credible contender for Seth Rollins. I like both Randy and Drew, but I think if I'm betting money, it's Drew McIntyre.
You mentioned Randy, and there was kind of like a vibe, is the lack of a better word, where Randy is really selling his back. There's like a blurred line between the two. It kind of reminds me when Daniel Bryan was selling his head injury. It was like, "Oh, is he not? Did he come back too early?" And I do feel that Randy Orton is closer to the end of his career than we probably think. Like, I think this run's not going to last as long as we hope. That RKO is not easy to pull off for him these days. I was trying to ask you a question. What's the over-under on RKOs that we see at the Chamber? I think we're only going to see one, honestly. He probably has one in him that's going to
No, dude. Nah.
You think he's going to hit... What's the over then?
All of them. I think he hits everyone with an RKO, just like at the Fatal 4-Way, where he had that sequence of hitting everyone with an RKO. That was probably the most hype moment of that Fatal 4-Way. I think I get it. I get what you're saying, where I don't know, where that he, because of the back. I think that there we'll probably get a spot where he hits an RKO on the middle railings. And then he's really going to sell the back then. But I think everyone is walking out with an RKO.
All right, everybody walking as an RKO. For me, it has to be Drew, logically. Would I want LA Knight to win? That's the number one Glazer of LA Knight. Does he deserve the win? Hasn't LA Knight done enough for the people of the wrestling community? Yes. Did LA Knight cook Drew in Monday Night Raw? He did. That man cooked him, roasted him, slow bro, whatever you want to say it, air fried him for the Zoomers out there.
Do you really think that was the hang up of people? What sort of cooking device?
Yeah, yes. Zoomers don't slow cook anymore. They don't crock pot it, okay? They air fry it, all right? You can air fry anything. LA Knight wouldn't be the choice, unfortunately, because Seth Rollins, the most interesting thing, Santi, is Seth Rollins almost went through everybody on this chamber anyway, right? So what's the difference this time around? I think the outlier would be Randy Orton. And I think it's a much more I think it would save that spot at Mania for Seth Rollins to give him something more juicy. It kind of reminds me of, I like how all of a sudden, like, who's Taker going to face? And then all of a sudden, the last minute, you get this person, like, oh, that kind of makes sense. This is the same thing.
Except that one year where it was Shane McMahon, and we're like, what? Why?
God,
but aside from that,
isn't it odd that Shane and Kevin Nash are like tied in unity now? It's forever going to be Shane. Don't hurt your leg. Don't hurt yourself again, Shane.
Dude, it's like the Spider-Verse of quads.
The web of quads.
So you've got Drew McIntyre as well. I've got a couple of extra bonus questions for both. I wanted to go through both of the chamber matches first.
Okay.
Women's chamber match.
Yes.
What WrestleMania feuds are built within that women's chamber match?
You said it, Bianca and Tiffany Stratton. You have to do that. They already kind of hinted at it with promos, but Tiffany needs to be in Mania, bro.
Yeah.
She needs to be.
Yeah.
In one of the nights. You're telling me Tiffany Stratton does not have a spot in 2 nights of Mania?
She's going to. She's going to.
She has to have one.
What about Raquel versus Liv Morgan?
Oh, former tag team members? Okay. I like that idea, but I don't see it. One of my worst tropes in wrestling right now, and I think the women's division is egregious of it, is former tag team members just fighting out of for no reason.
Sure.
Like Natalia and what was her name? Oh my God, Tegan Knox. Like, it makes no sense. I don't get it. I don't want to see.
I think they can make it make sense here. Like, if Raquel eliminates Liv Morgan could definitely turn more into the dark side of, like, you took away my opportunity for my revenge tour, because she's been so adamant about that.
The Jannetty,
yeah, I could see that happening. On the men's side, I see a few really interesting options here. Actually, no.
Question before you go to the men's side. Who steals the show at the women's chamber?
It's Tiffy. It's Tiffany Stratton. I think because she is the youngest one out of all of them that's going to be able to take the highest risks, I bet she does the most high risk, coolest offensive move, and I think that she takes the gnarliest move as well. I think it's going to be Tiffy.
That, and I think my sub one would be Raquel.
Okay. Like, she could play like she gets the most elimination type.
Maybe she's going to be the workhorse.
Okay.
Again, I know it's a weird thing to say, but she's the Kevin Nash. She's the Diesel.
Okay. All right. Diesel. Men's on the other side. Actually, no, before we go to the women's side, look, are you getting at all concerned about WWE's unwillingness to use Jade Cargill in matches?
I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you that in our Wrestling is Cool podcast, which you can get early at Patreon.
It's already up. It's actually already up on Patreon. As you're watching this on YouTube.
Could have had it. $5. I was gonna ask you that. I mean, the most interesting thing on SmackDown was Jade was there, but she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Braun Breaker got the, hey, we signed her type of thing. I feel like it's the longer Jade sits on ice, the more questions will be, we'll start asking questions. But we at this level of fandom are asking questions already because it's like kind of seeping in. But it's gonna get to the point where everybody starts gonna asking, the casual fans will start asking questions, and I think that's gonna be the problem. I wish I don't necessarily need to see her in squash matches. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need her to come out and squash an NXT member. I just need her to be involved. I need her to cause a ruckus, either if it's her just showing up and sitting at ringside and getting all the eyes towards her, because she is a magnet. Wherever she goes, you cannot not look at her. She's that much of a superstar. But if she doesn't start feuding with somebody, I don't know. And could she handle a Mania spot as her first match in the WWE? I don't know either. She doesn't even have a live event match underneath her belt yet.
Nothing.
Only a Rumble spot.
This tells me that they maybe don't think that she's in-ring ready yet. And even in the Rumble, it's easy to mask somebody's weaknesses in the Rumble. And I figured it would be the same in the Chamber.
But she's not even TV ready, though? She can't even pop out and cut a promo?
I mean, she's got to be TV ready. Just her aura and presence alone is good enough to put on TV. Like you said, she is a magnet. But it's making
weird.
me ask questions that I wish I wasn't asking. And
which you only are because you're so in with the pulse. You have the pulse of the WWE, but I'm telling you, it's going to get to the point where people are like, wait, when is she going to wrestle? That's what they're going to ask.
So long as it doesn't become meme status, like when Veer kept having those like Veer is coming vignettes. So long as it doesn't reach meme status, I think it'll be fine. But I'm starting to ask questions. Men's feuds that I think could come out of this involve people that aren't in the Chamber match, like Bobby Lashley and Karrion Kross. I think Karrion Kross gets involved in some capacity here, which I wouldn't love, but they've been doing a pretty overtly obvious job of protecting Bobby Lashley from taking L's.
Do you think Bobby makes it inside the Chamber?
I hope they don't do that to him again. He's the one that didn't get to be in the Chamber match when if you remember, Brock Lesnar won the WWE Championship and he went in as the champion and wasn't even in the Chamber match. I could see it, yes, because we've seen it before, but I don't want to. I don't want them to do that again to Bobby. But again, they've been really trying to protect Bobby Lashley from taking losses, and this could be
and he is a newly minted face.
Yeah,
you can't hate on Bobby. I think the only angle, and we didn't really talk about this when we're predicting the men's Chamber, is Bobby was supposed to be at Mania.
Yeah.
39, and they didn't have a spot for him, and it got axed late on and got cut. And I felt bad for him. And remember they were kind of working us on that angle. It's like, hey man, and that kind of gave him a little boost as a face for a while, and that made him who he was kind of now. But I don't think Bobby makes it in that Chamber, man. I don't think so. I think someone takes a spot.
It'd be Testament, right? It'd be the New Testament that would take him out. So I do think that they build on that somehow. I think New Testament does get involved. What about, okay, this is the most interesting one. What feud does LA Knight walk out of with here? Because we've been wondering, how do we get to LA Knight and Logan Paul?
What's this we? You.
Okay, Sancho, you are still in this delusional Narnia world where LA Knight is going to main event WrestleMania for a world title. It's not happening.
He is my Aslan. Okay.
Sancho, let the sane people talk for a second. All right.
Okay.
Let the sane people talk for a second. He's not going to get.
You threw out Lion the Witch. You threw out Lion the Witch and Wardrobe. All right, and I just named him as the king. Aslan.
You did. That's way too deep. That's way too deep of a reference.
Last week was Gap Speed. Today's the Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. No. Okay. Logan and LA Knight. Sure, it makes sense on paper. And someone once wrote, "Why are they yelling?" I just care about LA Knight, and I think the ship has already passed. You can't just make a U-turn and come back for the U.S. title. You can't do that with him. He's an Intercontinental or higher for now.
Okay, so AJ Styles then is what he's going to be having at WrestleMania, because
Emo Styles.
It's going to be AJ, or AJ's the one that makes the most sense. So I was going to ask you if you think that AJ Styles is going to get involved in this.
He's supposed to.
Right? Like LA Knight cost him his spot. We could see a world where AJ Styles costs LA Knight here and sets that up for WrestleMania. But
I'm okay with that.
Are you more okay with that than a match against Logan Paul?
I think if you give him a match with Logan and he doesn't win, that will hurt him more than losing against AJ Styles.
And I don't think he would win.
Against Logan?
Now that Logan just recently signed this like more full-time contract, I think the WWE is going to lean into Logan holding this for a while.
I think so too, but I don't think you don't feed him LA Knight. You feed him somebody else. You have to feed him somebody else, because if you feed him LA Knight, I don't think it will kill his momentum, because LA Knight is the cockroach that will never die. He's just going to keep on coming. He's going to keep on growing. His fan base, will keep on vouching for him and glazing him to the end of days, okay? I'm talking about Baron Corbin in the days, okay? I don't think you feed him to LA Knight, but I think LA Knight does feud with AJ Styles because it makes the most sense, and that's already been something that's been established, and LA Knight, quote unquote, hasn't yet to receive his receipt for stopping Styles. And they already had that segment where Styles was brooding in the backstage, sitting in the locker room.
What's your problem, man? What's my problem? I'll tell you what my problem is.
The best part of that segment is when Anderson hits him back, but he didn't expect not to be stopped, and he lightly hits him in the chest like that.
All right, let's move on to
Carl.
What could presumably be the main event. Rhea Ripley going in as the champion, the women's world champion, defending against Nia Jax. What are we feeling here? I feel like it's an obvious choice to go with Rhea Ripley. But How do you feel? I think not so much the conversation about Rhea Ripley retaining. How do you feel about Nia Jax as a contender here? How have they done it in terms of building her up? What do you think?
It hurts my heart that on Raw they completely buried the women's chamber with Nia Jax. You didn't need to do that.
Think they tried too hard?
They did. It's like they overdid it. It's like, we understand that Nia is a bad person, and we already accepted that Nia's feud with Rhea has no base. There's nothing underneath it. It's baseless. Even their promos are kind of like one note type of thing, where Rhea is not really talking about Nia. Rhea's talking about herself and her journey as a superstar, where she accepted herself who she was. She didn't quit on herself, and she became mommy. Like, it was all about Rhea, not really directed towards Nia. And Nia's just like, boo-hoo. Who cares about what you think, Rhea? I'm the one here that's going to squash you. It's all like surface level. So there's nothing attached to this. So why sacrifice that nothingness that this match brings on your top tier women's wrestling roster? I can't, like, the number of champions were squashed in that segment was kind of insane. If you really think about how many title holders were just squashed by Nia Jax. And again, Nia Jax has been doing great work, and it could literally be anybody. It could have been Ronda Rousey. It could have been Becky. It could have been Rhea Ripley. It could have been Bianca Belair, who did what she did on Raw, and it would still be upsetting.
And I think it's just upsetting because they already did a good job of building her. She had squashed Rhea Ripley like 3 consecutive times. Like, I already felt like she was a good threat. I don't think they needed to do the squashing.
She always walked away with Rhea hurt, and Rhea sold the most for her. And it always was bizarre to me that every time Rhea would run in the ring to start locking up with Nia would always get the advantage of her, like, quickly and soundly. To me, Rhea Ripley in this situation, and I think this match, if you had to ask me how it's going to go down, it's going to be like Brett and Yokozuna.
Okay.
It's going to be like that. Rhea's going to work from underneath this match a lot. It's going to sell a lot for Nia. And, with the cunningness and guile of Rhea Ripley, she's going to overcome Nia Jax in some way. I think a missed bonsai drop is going to happen. And I think she's going to win. Like, she cannot rip tighter, dude. Has she ever ripped tighter?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
If it is a riptide, it's like an assisted top rope avalanche riptide type of thing. But no, I understand why this would be the main event, but it doesn't feel like a main event. It reminds me of even like Seth Rollins and Nakamura. Like this doesn't feel like a main event.
Sure.
We're just here to get a lot of pyro, baby. We're gonna see some fireworks, and it's gonna be that package stinger that we see for Rhea Ripley for the rest of her career, where she's gonna be in Perth. Fireworks, going over more pyro than Cody can ever imagine. You know, Cody's gonna be jealous of what's gonna happen for Rhea Ripley.
So I think we're both in agreement of Rhea Ripley. I have a bigger question that I want to ask you from the result. Is that fair? Both Rhea?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I agree. Here's what I don't think is a no-brainer and what I want to discuss with you. What do you do with Rhea Ripley after Elimination Chamber from a character point of view? Is she a babyface?
What do you do with Rhea Ripley?
Is she a babyface or it goes back to a heel? Because she's going to come out of this
as the face, right?
The biggest babyface of that night. Home crowd. She's probably going to be finishing the show. All the pyro going up against the biggest bad guy right now in the women's division. Can you revert her back to a heel role? And if you can't, then maybe that actually does impact who wins the Elimination Chamber match, and it's not a babyface that wins the women's Elimination Chamber match.
Truthfully, right now, Becky Lynch is kind of very heely. Does that make? I don't know. Because when you listen to the promos of Becky cutting on Rhea, people are not 100% on board with Becky being the man going up against Mommy, and Becky keeps saying, you know, you love your mommy. Mommy has been taking over, but I'm the man, and I'm the one who's gonna be there. And it comes off as a heel kind of promo on the face, saying like, we know you like her more than me, type of thing. But hey, don't forget about me. I've been here since the beginning. If that's the case, I think Rhea comes out as a face, just like you mentioned, all those things. I don't think they come out at Monday Night Raw and Rhea cuts a promo saying that everybody sucks and gets cheap heel and calls everybody trail trash. Who would do that? I don't know. I don't know who would do that. I don't know who would do that at all. I think you keep Rhea as a face, and maybe the man works as a heel. I think that I'd be interesting to see a heel man out there with Becky, but I'm holding out hope for Tiffany Stratton to win in a fluke way, and then I think you get a much interesting build up between Rhea and Tiffany than Becky again.
It's something new, something we haven't seen before.
It's gonna be stale, man. If the promos are any indication already, it's gonna be stale, and I want someone who just says the wildest stuff, and that's Tiffany Stratton.
Tiffany Stratton.
It's Tiffy time, baby.
It's Tiffy time. New entrance theme and everything. She's ready to go, man. She is main event. She
looks like money, dude.
She's so good. She's so incredibly good.
And she has a powerhouse set. I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
Granted, she does it against Zelina Vega, but that's gonna be interesting. Well, side note, do you think Lopez and Vega end up on a PLE somewhere?
Oh, you're talking about the feud between Elektra Lopez and Legado del Fantasma and LWO and Zelina. Here's the thing. They've done numerous times these feuds that are good feuds, because I do think Elektra Lopez and Zelina Vega has been pretty decent.
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
But they don't ever pay them off in PLEs. And it's just because it's so much harder to get on PLEs these days, because if you look at this, there's only 4 matches. Royal Rumble had 4 matches. And typically they don't go over 5 these days. If anything, I see this culminating on SmackDown in really, really great matches. Because you got to remember, even a great feud like we had in the early fall between Gunther and Chad Gable, even that didn't get on a PLE. It's really hard to get on a PLE. So they haven't been able to get Karrion Kross on a PLE. It's tough. It's tough. Sure, fair enough. Okay, I gave a really great example, and then one where you're like, well, I get why he's not on PLEs. Maybe not the best example. It's just hard to get on PLEs these days, so I don't see it.
My last question, as we're wrapping up this show, do you think the right people made it into the chamber out of all the people that were competing for the chamber? Because I know you wanted Chelsea Green in the chamber.
I think I would have loved Chelsea Green in the chamber, but that was before Raquel Rodriguez made a shock return. I think Raquel is the right call. If it wasn't Raquel and it was all the other women that were there, I feel comfortable waving the flag that it should have been Chelsea Green. I think Chelsea Green, weirdly enough, got the most over by how she lost. And I think Chelsea Green, with the type of character that she is, would be maybe the greatest Miss Money in the Bank of all time. She is a perfect character to hold that type of briefcase, to hold that type of leverage. Maybe the Elimination Chamber wasn't the right spot, but I'm happy with Raquel Rodriguez. So I do believe on the women's side, yes. On the men's side, even more yes. I think that they actually nailed it with everyone that should be on there. I would have liked, like you said, Sammy, and I would have liked the addition of Braun Breaker if there was enough time to get him in there. But overall, I'm very happy with the field on both sides.
Okay.
What about yourself?
No, I agree. I agree with all that. But I would never ever pick Raquel to lose against Chelsea Green.
Sure.
Raquel is my new mommy.
Fair enough. And that's understandable. Back, mommy. All right, folks. Thanks so much for listening to this little bonus garnish episode of Wrestling is Cool. If you happen to be watching this earlier on in the week, there will be another episode of Wrestling is Cool where we do have a full, more podcast length conversation. It's actually already up on Patreon. So go check it out. If you haven't done so already, patreon.com/SantiZap. For $5, you're going to get so much more content. Oh, Sancho, you're going to be streaming Elimination Chamber?
Yes, I'll be up at 4 a.m. Central Time on Sancho West, the Twitch channel, streaming it. If you miss it, you could watch my reactions on the TikTok of Sancho West Wrestling, my friends.
A show. Thank you very much to everybody for listening to this episode or watching it wherever it is that you consumed it. Take care. Be wonderful people. Do something nice for someone.